You better be careful. Right?
Good evening. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Typically these valedictorian speeches start off with a long list of thank yous that the valedictorian wants to make and name people by names, but really, honestly, I would just like to extend a general thank you to Pike County, just everybody, not just the school, but also the businesses and the community. It's really the people that make this a great place to live. So thank you to everybody. Okay, before we start, this is a little bit of an interactive segment for you here and you on the sides. So I need to get a feel for who I'm talking to. Can I get a big cheer from everybody who likes Hallmark movies? Mr. Potter, no judgment. We understand. But I have something with me that you might find interesting. This is not my speech, don't worry. But this is part of the script to the very first ever Hallmark movie that they created. They made it back in 2000. And what I find amazing is that they took this script, made the first movie, and since then, I'm not making this up, I looked it up, they've made 534 more Hallmark movies, and every single one uses this exact same script. In case you haven't seen them, they all end the same way. So, it's not my speech, don't worry. Unfortunately, a lot of these valedictorian speeches just end up being the same way. There was somebody that gave the valedictorian speech for the first time sometime, and since then everybody just kind of reuses the same speech over and over again. And I didn't want it to be that way, because every year the valedictorian at each school has to come up with something to say from their life experience, but it's usually pretty limited, so it ends up just being something like 4 long years, and then you just want to do anything except listen to this speech that is making your eyes glaze over. And so I thought there have got to be some people out there in the community that would have something really interesting to say if they just had the opportunity to speak at a graduation like this. So I decided to put in a little bit of extra work for this one. A few of you know that I'm planning to major in astronautical engineering in college, which is working with rockets. And I think we are all familiar with somebody else who has made a name for himself in the rocket business. I see somebody's catching on. He also has an electric car company that you may have heard of. And then a few weeks ago, I heard he's buying a bird company or something. Anyway, I thought he sounds like a really interesting guy, and he would have some great things to say if he just had the opportunity to speak at a graduation like this. So, like I said, did a little extra work, talked to some of my more influential friends, and they know some powerful people who have connections, and we made contact. We did a little convincing. I gotta tell you guys, it was not easy to pull this one off tonight, but we did it. Not even by Zoom, live and in the flesh, here in Pike County. So I am pleased to announce that behind the stage we have today with us a very, very special guest, most certainly the wealthiest person ever to step into this stadium. And I see a few jaws dropping out there, but seriously, tonight we have a very special guest. He's been generous enough to fly all the way here from Texas, a very busy man, but he's given his time to give the rest of this speech. So ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, Pike County, please extend a warm welcome to Mr. No, just kidding, he's not here. It's just me, sorry, you're stuck. But now that you're paying attention, I really was serious about getting the inspiration from other people. I went around and asked people, my family, my friends, I even asked some Georgia and United States congressional representatives, the lady making my biscuit at the whistle stop, anybody. I just asked them, what would you say if you just had a few thousand people and they were listening to you? What do you want them to know, especially your 18-year-old self? What would you tell them? So I asked these people, and I got about 40 or 50 answers, but then I realized that I had a problem, because I needed a theme for this speech, right? But everybody was just saying different things. They were all over the map, and I didn't have anything central that I could talk about. So I had this dilemma. But then I remembered something that a professor said one time. I had this dual enrollment class called Introduction to Ethics, which is important. It was ethics class. It was in the fall of 2020. And I had this professor. He had his doctorate in philosophy, but he was also a millennial. Those exist, apparently. And so if you're wondering what that looked like, he would describe phenomenology and utilitarianism, all these huge things with Spider-Man analogies. That was his style. So in the last online lecture, he was He was telling us the stuff you might expect to hear. Hope you enjoyed the semester as much as I did. Stay safe out there, because of course it was the year of which we do not speak. And he said those things, and then you could almost just hear him thinking. He was trying to come up with something to end this ethics class, where we had been talking about all these topics that were deep and sometimes confusing, and talking about how to act morally. He wanted to end it the right way. And what he said there at the end of the video, right before we clicked off, just kind of made everything in the class make sense to me. It all just clicked. It was very simple. All he said was, be good. That's it. He said, be good. Now, okay, so now before you go asking for your money back, because I just juked you out with Elon Musk, and now I'm saying something that's so stupidly obvious that you don't want to listen to it, just bear with me, because there really was a theme to what everybody was telling me. When I asked these people, they were all giving me advice to reach the same goal. It was just from different directions. What they were all saying was really just be good, but in whatever context came into their mind first, specifically. It's such a broad and vague phrase to say. I mean, be good, what does that even mean? It doesn't tell you how you should act. It says how you should be at your core, but not what you should do. Because that would be a lot easier to follow along, telling you what to do, but it doesn't. And then the word good, what does that even mean? If you look it up in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, there are 33 different definitions for the word good. And my professor, he summed up this whole class in 2 words, but we still spent the whole time talking about individual aspects of how you can be good and act morally. And that took the whole semester. So we kind of have a problem. How are we supposed to figure this thing out? Be good. The bottom line is that it really comes down to each individual in each individual situation deciding and figuring out what is the right thing to do to be good with your thoughts and your words and your actions. And I've been pretty vague so far. So I'm going to move my storytelling out of the way and just pass on to you guys what everybody told me. A few select answers. The first one was to be good by taking risks. One of my coaches said, always jump into the swimming pool, don't just dip your toe. In case you're wondering, he was not a swimming coach, okay? So it was a metaphor, I promise you. Another teacher said, God is much bigger than we allow him to be. And if we trusted him with that, then we'd be willing to take more risks. The second thing I was told was, be good by working hard. 2 peers my own age shared that hard work gets you a long way and that the outcome is worth the effort. That's probably not the first time that you've heard those things, but there was another interesting perspective on working hard at your education that somebody told me, older than either of these 2 other people. He said, the moment you stop learning, you get stuck. And he clarified, it's important to mention this, it's not just about the classroom, because some of us here in this field this month may have stepped into a classroom for the last time, and we'll never step into a classroom again. What he was talking about is applying it overall to yourself and constantly learning. Next, be good by keeping your convictions. It was interesting, the director of a successful nonprofit and the founder of a consulting company both told me essentially the same thing, just a couple days apart. The first one used to work in HR, and he said, whenever I would hire somebody, I would never hire them based on their skill set, because I can teach skills, but character is what matters in an employee. And the second person gave me this advice about the next 4 years that I'll be spending at the Air Force Academy. She said, you will have constant pressure on you from all sides, but you'll succeed if you stand by the convictions that you hold dearly. And this is the guiding star within us that Abis mentioned earlier, convictions. And finally, be good by being wise in how you spend your time, energy, and passions. 2 of my mentors had similar thoughts on this. The first one said, there is some value in things that are temporary, but we can't ignore the long view. What is eternal? People's souls, the Word of God, and works done for the Creator. They're eternal. Everything else will rust, bust, turn to dust, or burn up in the end. And finally, the last thing that I have to pass on to you tonight. Again, not my own words. This is just the best wisdom that our little corner of Georgia has to offer. And here it is. Time is our most valuable asset. We can be successful, have every possession imaginable, but if we don't take the time to impact others along the way, it will all be for nothing. Thank you, and be good.
Thank you.
But I have to follow that. Bada boom. Class of 2022.